Hello, and welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. Today's What's Up Wednesday. I'm going to show you my new sewing desk, a few things that I made this week, one thing my husband made for the sewing room this week, a few baby items that I've been working on, as well as our creative word of the day. And remember, use that creative word of the day in the comment section down below and you have a chance to win something. Everybody likes to win, right? Let's get to it. Okay, so let's see what is going on here. As you know, I have been saying that I'm going to be working on some baby items. So this week I did get started. So far I plan on doing a lot more by the end of the week. And I know I showed you these fabrics in another What's Up Wednesday. Excuse me. But this is what's called a self-binding baby blanket. It makes perfectly mitered corners. Isn't that beautiful? And you could decorative stitch. I just simply used a straight stitch. But I love those fabrics together. So the back is a flannel, a cotton flannel, and the front is just 100% quilting cotton. I'm going to be making another one of these, and I think on the second one, I'm going to embroider the baby's name on it. Okay, so the other thing that I have been doing is some burp cloths. Normally, I put flannel on each side of the burp cloth, and this is flannel that I've had for a few years, this pink. So a year or so ago, my friend Cheryl dropped off some fleece scraps asking if I could use them, and there were various pieces. There were some larger pieces than here, but I noticed that there was some pink and some yellow in there. So I tried fleece on the back of the flannel burp cloths because the pink matched beautifully, and I thought that it would be soft next to the baby's skin, and fleece is fairly absorbent, so there's that. So I did cut a few more. These are all pinned and ready to go. Now these are flannel on both sides, and if you were with me last week or the week before, you saw that that fabric that I said wasn't all girly, but that's okay because we need other items, right? We don't need everything to be pink because that's, you know. So then I had some duck fabric, which I can show you what this looks like. Just some little ducks on a green background with bubbles. So I used some fleece, and I'm going to sew these together and do these two. Now I cut them at 10 by 20 because I felt like that made a pretty good size burp cloth. And so I'm going to finish those up. But the one thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you have worked with flannel before, you've found this to be true. I usually pre-wash all my fabrics, and I know there are people that don't, but flannel is a perfect example of absolutely why I do it. I would have been horrified if I had made the burp cloths up in this. Now, not minding the strings on the edge, I don't know if you can tell, maybe not, but the weave on this flannel is absolutely terrible, and you can see the lines of thread going each way on it, and it's terribly cheaply made. But when I bought it, it didn't feel that way at all. I thought it was really nice flannel. And I wasn't particularly impressed with this one either, to be honest with you, because this one, I don't know if I can show it or not, but the weave was, it kind of pilled up the first wash, and just, I'm still going to give these two. It's not, this flannel isn't as bad as some of the others. And just knowing that they'll only be used for a matter of months, I think it will hold up. But I wouldn't use it on a blanket. So I don't know if you guys have found that with flannel, but boy, am I glad I pre-washed that, because if I would have given that to someone, especially someone other than our daughter, I would have been really embarrassed if something happened to that flannel in the meantime. Okay, so I showed you that I had some fleece scraps from Cheryl. And the other day I thought, I wonder what I can do with these smaller pieces. Well, I had a piece that was a pink, it had Barbie on it. And this is what I made. It looks kind of like a ball, but it's supposed to be a block. So I cut 5-inch squares and made the fleece square block for the baby. And that got me thinking, of course, because I love scraps of fleece or anything. I may not have worked with fleece a lot, but that doesn't mean that I won't. So I got thinking, yeah, I could use all the smaller, narrower pieces like these. I could make a quilt out of them. I could make baby toys out of them, animal beds. There's so many things you could do. But I also thought that I could take my regular cotton scraps with children's prints and make them into a block, but also take our scraps and applique a heart onto one, or a shape, or maybe a texture, a little flap hanging out, something like that. And I thought, I'm probably not the first one to come up with this idea. But either way, I usually make taggy blankets for all the grandchildren, which are just, 10 or 12 inches square. And I make those, but I thought I could have put tags on here, because I make my tags. I don't buy ribbon and put them in there because I'm afraid of the fraying. So I just take my little scraps, like, of course you do, Marie, of course you take your scraps. I do. I take all my little short scraps of fabric and I cut them. I can't remember what width, I'd have to try it out, but I fold both to the middle, both edges to the middle, and then fold it in half again and sew them. But either way, so I would put tags and different appliques on these. So I'm going to give that a shot, and I might even do that for an upcoming tutorial. Because I'll be doing quite a few baby items coming up. So I'd like to know if anyone is interested in that. So I did show you the smaller pieces, but Cheryl also gave me larger pieces of the yellow and the pink, and I think there's a light pink in there. And I hadn't used any of them until just recently, because that's kind of how I go. It depends on what I'm working on and what I feel like working on. And I used this in a bag last week. I don't know if I showed you guys the other one. Okay, this was a tutorial on Sunday, okay? But before I made that one, I made this one, which was a trial one. And this was done in this fabric because I thought it went really well with that dark gray flowered. And that's just another iPad case. And that was, I need to sew up the bottom there. You can see I haven't done the opening, but that's why when I did the tutorial, we did the opening up here. So there was nothing to finish. So this was my trial one. I do have to go back and sew that. But either way, I used this fabric here because my friend Christine is always bringing me little goodies of zippers, and you just never know what. And this is what she dropped off to me last week and a half ago. There was that, and there was some Elvis fabric. Let's see if I can show you this. So this might make a good bag for an Elvis fan. Not that I mind Elvis. I really did grow up listening to his music, and my Aunt Gail just absolutely adored him. There's this, which is kind of medieval, I guess. I don't really know what else to call that. And this comes in 3 colors she dropped off to me. And then there's like pottery and baskets and things on a beige background. And some bright police officer fireman fabric. So it's always nice when friends help you out and give you something towards your stash, because you know we always love more fabric, right? Because who can't use more or look at more? We love to look at more, right? Okay, so that's all of the fabric items I wanted to show you, but I do have one more thing. My husband, I showed him what I wanted for an ironing mat. So he took a piece of wood that we had that had been kind of like a TV tray, and he cut it along one side, made it the dimensions I wanted. I used 3 or 4 layers, 3 layers of nice cotton batting here, which went a little bit over the edges. And then I had this beautiful, and these are just like little design flaws in the fabric. They're not a stain. There's just a couple of little white spots, but they don't bump up or anything, so I'm not going to worry about them. But this is beautiful fabric. Actually, Christine's mother had sent me this, and I made 2 ironing board covers for my regular iron out of it, as well as this. And this is probably a home decor weight cotton. It's beautiful. And she said she had it for quite some time, and she was always a sewer as well. So Marilyn sent me that, and that was just the end of it. I have just some scraps of this left that I can use on a block or something like that. And that's what I wanted to show you for that. So in order to show you my sewing table, I actually had to close my blind and my curtains because you couldn't see a thing. So this is my new sewing table. I didn't buy a really expensive one. It definitely isn't made to exactly fit any one brand of sewing machine. There's a little bit of space, but you know, that doesn't matter. Just getting it up off that table height where it had been has really improved how much I can sew. It has helped a lot. Has a little shelf down below where I can put my scraps, and I do, as you can see. There are 3 drawers over in the side, and I guess they're drawers, they're boxes. Doesn't everybody keep chocolate chips and cat treats in your sewing drawer? No, just bobbins and just lightweight things in there. But it's handy to have. Oops. And I like it. So that's my new sewing table. And last week on What's Up Wednesday, I was telling you it was coming in the next day. So that's it. And that's my new sewing machine, my Singer Quantum Stylist, which I love over and above my other machines that I've had. So I want to thank you for stopping by today to see what I've been up to. I also wanted to discuss with you some upcoming tutorials and some of my ideas. So far, I don't know a whole lot about looking at Google, at like YouTube analytics for my YouTube channel. But the few things that I do know are this. This week I have gained a lot of subscribers, which is great. It means the word is getting out there and people like the content, which is good. And it also comes from you guys sharing the videos, from you liking the videos and subscribing. It really does help, so I want to thank you for that. Secondly, the most watched video that I have is actually probably my worst video as far as lighting, camera angles, because it was either my first or my second video, and it was called Sewing Scraps Together. But that has had more views than any of the other ones. I mean, like far and away above all the other ones. So I think I want to redo that, because I actually have had some people message me and question little questions like, how do you sort your scraps? Do you sort them by color? Do you figure out what you're going to do beforehand? And no, I don't. But I thought that I could do another video about those things and kind of show up with better lighting, better camera angles, how I put scraps together, because there's more than one way to do it, and there are methods, and there's all sorts of ways to do it. And I only follow a few of them. You may do it a whole different way, and that's fine. I also belong to some scrap block quilting groups, and every month I make crazy blocks. So I thought, even though a crazy block is basic for me now, it wasn't always. I didn't always know exactly how I should go about making those. And I thought, well, what about another person who's beginning and wants to learn that? And yes, there are probably a gazillion of them on YouTube to learn from. But I want to know in the comments section what you think about crazy block tutorial, or just some scrap quilt block tutorials in general, which I do plan on making at some point, but I'm looking more towards the next few weeks of doing the crazy block as well as the sewing scraps together, like a part 2, if it were. And I can talk more about how I sort my scraps or don't sort my scraps, what comes out versus what I leave in the bucket or the bag, and why. And that might help some of you who are newbies to figure out what you want to do with your scraps. So let me know in the comments section what you think about that. And while I'm asking you to leave something in the comments section, I'll give you my creative word of the day. And since it's a new idea, the creative word of the day is just, I give you a word, and if you use it in the comments below the video, your name goes in a drawing for a once a month prize drawing of something made by me, which I will mail to you. So if you would like to take part in this little contest, the creative word of the day is actually going to be scrap, because we are talking about scrap projects coming up. So I'd love to know your thoughts on what I just threw out there. And if you haven't already, if you're on Facebook, look me up at Marie's Scrappy Creations and ask to join. I do have 3 simple questions, and that's just to keep spammers and trolls out. And hopefully this works, but that's why I have questions on there. But I want to thank each and every one of you who have already signed up for the group and made it in. And hey, feel free to show us what you're working on. That's what the group is for. Post some pictures. Tell us what you're working on. We'd love to hear about it. So until Sunday's tutorial, which I'm going to be hush-hush about this week. Last week I told I was making something for an iPad. Hey, and that was a pretty popular video, actually. I got more views in the first 12 hours of that than any of my other videos combined. So people must be searching for iPad sewing patterns, because that one was really popular. So until Sunday's tutorial, take care, be kind, keep sewing, stay scrappy, and I'll see you Sunday. Bye-bye.